All right. How are we? I'm going to just test audio real quick and we'll get going. All right. How are we? I'm going to just test audio real quick and then now we just need to touch buttons. I need to get the right. That's the one. All right. Is that the one? Okay. How are we? I'm going to just test audio real quick. Okay. All right. I think we're up and running. It's been a while. It feels like it's been a while. All right. I still need to figure out where all my stuff is. Usually what I like to do with these live streams, I created a podcast, but then I tend to think that there's way more to be said. A podcast is kind of a monologue. And so I always want to create more dialogue. That's kind of the idea of this podcast. And so I kind of just unpack my week a little bit. I want to talk a little bit about Joe Rogan, the phenomenon of Joe Rogan, and why I think it's possible that at the very least, dialogue is possible online. I had not thought about whether or not community was really possible online. I work in student ministry, and so I've always looked at kind of digital community as with a little bit of skepticism, but then you see young people who definitely engage in community online on some level. Now, as an old person who's not, a digital native, I sort of look at that and I go, but really, is that really community? But it is to them, and I think that's not nothing. And so, my experience with this podcast started really with this episode of Joe Rogan, and it's the Graham Hancock, Randall Carlson episode. It's episode 1897. And what you have with Joe Rogan is you have this phenomenon. Like they're in there and they're chatting. I don't think, okay, yeah, I want to make sure that's not quite. They're in the same room together, right? And he's got fascinating people coming and talking about fascinating things. And so they're experiencing a dialogue in person, in real life. But as I'm listening to this dialogue, I'm thinking, gosh, I wish I was there. Like, I wish I had been a sort of a fly on the wall. I wish I had been a guest at this table. I wish I could have, because they're talking about all this really like fascinating, I don't know what's going on with my connection, but anyway, they're talking about fascinating sort of alternate history and an alternate timeline for humanity. And as I'm listening to, I'm going, well, this sounds a lot like the biblical story of the flood. And I'm just going, man, I wish I had been there. And so I started thinking like, well, I kind of can be there, right? Through the mystical, magical power of the internet, all I have to do is sit down with a camera and a microphone and listen to the parts of the podcast that were intriguing to me, and then kind of share my thoughts and my ideas. And so this podcast began with the idea that dialogue was possible. And I had just been reading Plato, and of course, he's famous for having these dialogues with Socrates. And then you start to think, well, books kind of have a dialogue also. So isn't it that dialogue can happen in these different spaces? Certainly, maybe some of the best and most potent dialogue happens one-on-one in physical space, just like the Joe Rogan podcast. But then you think, why are millions and millions of people watching this podcast? It's because they're hungry for dialogue. They're hungry for whatever this is, whatever the Joe Rogan experience is. That's what people are hungry for. That's why it's a phenomenon. Yo, we got Jakob Konin in the house. Dude, that just lightens my heart right there to see you. Grim Grizz. Oh man. Okay. So I'm going to tell part of my story here. Jake, if you don't know Griswold Grimm's channel, you got to check it out. We'll get to Paul Vanderklay in this little corner here in a second, but I just wanted to start with the dialogue, right? We start with dialogue. We sort of start with this small version. What are we hoping from the internet? And at the smallest level, see, I don't know why. I still got to set up some stuff, guys. Sorry. I stream through OBS, and for whatever reason, one of my panels, if I close it, I don't see the chat. So I'll try to keep an eye on chat. Let me know. Usually it takes like a couple people to chat before I start to see it. So good to see you guys. And maybe that's a small ask of the internet. Is it possible for us to have dialogue and begin with that? But then you start to witness this little corner, and I'll talk about it here in a second. But like, is it also possible for community to exist in a digital space? And so, what did I even title this? I titled this, where am I? Here I am. What did I title this? Yeah, digital community versus digital spirits. Is it possible that there's an algorithm out there? And the fascinating thing, I guess I'll start talking about, well, I should stick with my, I should stick to my outline so I don't get completely lost. But, no, I'm not going to stick to my outline. Hit me up if you have any questions. Yo, Upcycle. Hey, okay. Yeah, wow, man. So now I'm going to bounce around and have like an ADD moment. It's good to see you guys. I just watched the Friday morning Nameless, or watched part of it, where Upcycle comes in, and that was fascinating, man. So there's something going on in this little corner. Now, this little corner of the internet doesn't have a YouTube channel. It's a flotilla of channels, isn't it? Or is it? Let me see. I'm just gonna go. If you guys have any questions, let me know, because I don't have I don't have a way of letting people in, unfortunately, because I'm streaming through OBS, at least as far as I understand it. Yeah, this is the one. Yes, awesome. That was good. I don't know. I guess I got a little ways through it. It was cool to hear your story, because I've seen you in the chat, but yeah, just getting a little bit more of your story was awesome. And Alex Jones said today, see, I can't see this. I need another chat. Hold on. I need this to go up so I can get that away. Okay, I said that today that Joe Rogan is taking God more seriously. Oh yeah, he really is. 100%. And I need to do more Joe Rogan dialogues. There's a few kind of in the back of my mind. Some of them don't seem to sort of naturally fit with sort of theology, which is the basis for this channel. But they kind of do, because, again, it's all this fringe stuff, but, there was one where he interviewed this guy up in Alaska, again, who's doing all the gold mine digging, and they're finding all these fossils that really like upset the timeline. And I think that that's good and healthy. We need to rethink, sort of the story of human origins and stuff like that. And so that touches on it. Yeah, these are great. And I love what, so Paul, I've got this from the Friday morning stream. Paul is breaking the rules when it comes to the internet, right? He's showing us that there's a different way. When I first found Paul's channel, and it was actually my brother who's here in the chat, when I started creating these video dialogues with Joe Rogan, and I was explaining to my brother what I was doing, he was like, man, you have to check out Paul Vanderklay. And he, to your credit, you told me years and years and years ago to check out Jordan Peterson and Paul Vanderklay. And I don't know what I was doing. I don't know where I was going, but I wasn't there. It wasn't the right timing. And so when I finally found Paul's channel, I thought, what is he doing with this just open link? He just puts a link out there and invites anyone into his live stream. That is not normal. That is not normal. And so there's a way the community, this little corner community that Paul is a part of, is doing something different with this medium. at least I don't see it anywhere else. I don't see what's happening with this little corner happening anywhere else. You can prove me wrong, but the idea that Paul just invites people into his live stream, a lot of people would say, well, that's dangerous. And it is dangerous. I'm sure it is. So you take basically, what this channel has been doing, which is sort of bits and pieces of interesting podcasts that I have listened to, and I often try to pair them with other voices. Like I find that Jordan Peterson actually pairs very well with Francis Schaeffer, if anybody's familiar with Schaeffer. And so I just feel like there's these interlocutors, is what we would call them if you're reading one of the dialogues of Plato. Like Socrates has these interlocutors, these dialogue partners, these people that he talks with. And now we're in this sort of digital space where I guess Francis Schaeffer could kind of, in a way, have a conversation with Jordan Peterson. We could create that. And so it's very interesting to think about how we could at least create dialogue and maybe even community. Now, this is just fun. Like this, what Paul is doing, what everybody, and I stopped into the Grail Country live stream this morning. Same thing. Just invite people in to conversation. Is there anywhere else in this space where people are doing that? And maybe I tend to be sort of hyperbolic, so maybe I'm making too much of that. But I just thought when I first caught a live stream from Paul, and he's like, "Oh, here's the link. You can join the live stream." I'm like, "Come again? Like, you don't know me, bro? Like, really?" And I actually think I joined the first one that I ever listened to. I think you guys can hear this. I'm gonna play a little clip from Friday because this takes me to the question of digital community. And which one will win the day? Because there's a tension here. YouTube, if you listen to the YouTube gurus, pretty much whatever Paul's doing, whatever Chad's doing, whatever this little corner is doing, the sort of YouTube algorithm gurus would say, don't do that. Whatever, you got to have nice thumbnails and nice titles, and you don't want to just add random people into your live stream. But this little corner is basically doing everything that the people who think they understand the YouTube algorithm. That's where the idea of digital spirits comes in. There's this algorithm that sort of controls things or moves here and there or whatever. And I don't know. So is this community? You be the judge here. Let's see. Somebody brought up, all right, the context here is we were talking about what's under the Denver airport. And I won't say who brought it up, but somebody brought up the lizard people. So
lizard people are under the Denver airport.
Well, like
we are on the internet.
The one that was loose in Miami, right? There was a lizard person Nephilim thingy that everyone had to catch and arrest in downtown Miami. Check the internet. It's like the top trending topic on Twitter today is this alien creature Nephilim thingy in Miami. I'm not joking.
The spirit of Alex.
I might be joking. I am joking and not joking.
I just love Cassidy's reactions right now. I didn't catch that when we were live that he was talking about the spirit of Alex Jones is alive in the TLC because that's kind of funny, right? Here's my thought. I don't know any of these people. I didn't know any of these people until I jumped into this live stream. I mean, do I know them? Do I actually? We're laughing. Isn't laughter a sign of community? It's a vulnerable thing. Laughter is vulnerable. Laughter makes you vulnerable. Vulnerability is a sign of community. And here, I mean, look at look at this group of people. Thanks, Shake. We all suck at this life thing. You forgive me. I appreciate it. But yeah, like I find this interesting. And Aaron's here in this live stream. I had not connected with Aaron before. Really appreciated some of his questions from earlier in the live stream. And then I think Aaron posted a video today. Was that today? Yeah. And so there's just really interesting things happening on this corner. So I don't know. My channel, I would say, is I'm a fan of this little corner. I think I know that much at least. I'm a fan of this little corner. I don't know how to describe it. It's hard to describe. That's part of what it should be, though, it seems. And I'm definitely a fan. I don't know if I necessarily fit in. I could occupy a corner of the corner or a corner of the corner of the corner, but yeah, C.S. Lewis has dialogues with everyone. See, this is the amazing thing in sort of my background is, not my background, I have a fondness for classical literature. And what you realize is in the classics, they're all having a conversation with each other. You know, they're all doing this. They're just doing it with books over hundreds of years and in different languages and stuff like that. But I think I'm definitely a fan of whatever this little corner is. And so, though I wouldn't say that I occupy a space in it, I want to understand it. And so I took a stab at it on the Twitters, on X, formerly known as the platform formerly known as Twitter. The phenomenon of this little corner, and I probably should have just like tried a definition here, but this little corner is a bunch of people on the internet who all have ideas, and then they share these ideas. A lot of them have YouTube channels, and there's just kind of this phenomenon. There's Discord, there's live events that happen, so it's digital, it's in person, it's hard to describe. But I took a stab at it because I think it's important. It's an important part of how I understand even the project that I have on my channel, which is, like I said, dialogue. I think this little corner is asking an even more profound question about community. The phenomenon of this little corner, all these channels, all these YouTube channels in this digital space of the internet, the phenomenon of this little corner of the internet will never rise above the medium it uses, or will it? The corner is tied to digital media, particularly YouTube, and so it may never be more than a bazaar of shops with thumbnails and titles begging you to come and look in. And that was the video from Waves of Obsession? Was that what it? I can't write or type. Yeah,
corner.
It was his. This was. Is it Chris? I think that's it. He uses that analogy of a bazaar, and all the channels are sort of like shops. And you can think of Joe Rogan, not Joe Rogan. You can think of Jordan Peterson, and you can think of Jonathan Peugeot and John Vervaeke, and some of the bigger name. Some of these channels that are big. Paul's channel is pretty big. And those are, he said that these are the people that have like sort of permanent storefronts that are sort of built in. And if you've ever been to the Grand Bazaar, that was the image that I got. I spent about a month in Turkey, and so in Istanbul, where the Grand Bazaar is. And so I just thought, okay, yeah, I get what he's saying, because you'll see that there's shops that are just like in the walls, and then there's people that have tents. I did tell, yes, Chris, thank you, Upside. I did tell Paul hi for you. Yeah, good to see you guys. Thanks for coming and hanging out. So I started live streaming a little while ago, and it's usually been on Wednesdays. So this is a nighttime stream. So I'm kind of feeling out the vibe. Usually it's in the middle of the day or whatever, and I don't know. I mean, let me know if this time works better. Awesome, let's do it. And eventually, I'll be able to bring people in. Like I said, I'm still just using OBS, so I don't know. Yeah, this is the crew, man. This is the crew. So, so what Chris was saying is it's not a flotilla, which he's borrowing from Grim Grit. See, this is what people do when they create classical literature. This builds community and culture. He pulls the idea that Grimm has, which is this little corner is a flotilla. It's a bunch of ships out in the sea. And he's saying, well, it's more like a bazaar. I am not sure about that. It may be nothing more than a bazaar of shops with thumbnails and titles begging you to look in. And I think that when you think of, that's more of the business side of YouTube. That's more of the like YouTube guru side of YouTube, where it's like, oh, get a really nice thumbnail. Now, I tried an experiment. You might have noticed if you follow my stuff, and if you follow the live streams, because I said I was going to do this in one of the live streams. I did a little experiment with this thumbnail, and maybe I'll get there because it's literally the worst performing video that my channel has. And it's an experiment. It's an experiment in doing exactly this, getting your title and your thumbnail and creating this sort of storefront. But this little corner is also tied to community. It's a community of people navigating a flotilla of ships. That's Grimm's analogy. And through chaotic seas, I think I can play this. And some people prefer yachts in the bay, but this little corner is a community of adventurers. They're on an adventure, and they're bringing back nourishment that will sustain the community. So I grabbed this clip from one of Paul's videos, and I think it was his video talking about this little corner.
Why does Jesus pick fishermen on the Sea of Galilee, not the lake? Yeah, it's a lake. It's a sea. Why is it a sea? Seas are places of chaos. And what fishermen do is they go out into the chaotic sea and they bring back life to sustain the community in habitable order. Why does Jesus?
That to me is an explanation of what this little corner is. Going out into the chaotic sea, which is the internet, to source nourishment for a community. So I think that fits more with the idea of a flotilla of ships. The chaotic water, and you know, one of the things in Chris's video, and I think I might have even said this, is he was saying this is the flotilla of ships is fine if you have a ship, if you have a boat. But what about the people that don't have boats? And that's the idea of lurkers, people that are on the fringe. How do you incorporate them into your community? We have to admit that is difficult because it's digital space. It's digital. Maybe it's actually easier because you don't have to have a ship. You just get invited aboard a ship. You just get invited onto a ship, and you're a part of the community. Who was it? I forget. Oh, well, I've watched too many videos that are dealing with this little corner, so I think I've lost the narrative. But you know, one of the things that Chris said is he spent years just watching the videos put out by the people that are in this little corner. And what made his video, think about this for a second. And this is for you guys that are like in the corner. Why did Chris's video resonate? Because he spent years beholding the community and looking at the community and perceiving the community. He spent years looking, and then he embodied it. So because he could behold it, he became it, right? You become what you behold. And so now, and think about that in the context of community and this digital community versus the digital spirits idea. Is the community not more powerful than the algorithm? I think it is. I think the community is way more powerful than the algorithm. I'm going to forget what it was. Somebody mentioned in one of their videos recently, I don't remember. Lost my train of thought. Sorry, guys. But here's where we are. I'm back. So the chaotic seas and going out and sourcing nourishment. So the project will remain unfinished. Why is this little corner hard to define? It's hard to define because I think once you try to define it, it might lose some of its power. It might what does C.S. Lewis say in Surprised by Joy? He's like, once you go looking for it, you can't get it. But it's when you're not looking for it that you encounter it. The project will remain unfinished. The phenomenon is hard to describe, and it needs to be that way so that the fringes, the lurkers, can enter in and partake of that nourishment. And this is from Friday Morning Nameless. I thought that this little clip from Peugeot also fits as a description for this little corner.
This idea that at the end of something you have to leave things unfinished. But it's also, in that place, is also a place of mixture. So for example, if we compare the fringes on the four corners of the vestments, the Israelites were supposed to leave the corners of their fields unharvested, and so unfinished. And this leaving unfinished was specifically so that the marginal people and the foreigners or the strangers among you could gather the grain for their own use. This idea that at the end of something,
Okay. So did you get the end of something?
you
Okay.
have to leave things unfinished.
Why?
But it's also, in that place, is also a place of mixture. So for example,
You leave it unfinished so that it can be a place of mixture. Why is this so dangerous? Why, when you just post a link to your live stream so a bunch of random people can show up, it's mixture. And that has a way of invigorating the immune system of the community, so that the community can tolerate people who are different than it. And that's the algorithm, the digital spirit that's out there is sort of like dividing people into little groups, right? Not mixing them very well. And so it's the community that has to respond and say, no, we'll do the mixing. We'll do the mixing for you. Yes. So, okay, think of people doing the wave in the stadium and how they all go. Yeah, so Grim, exactly. That was my experiment. The reason I created this video was I saw the wave happening. I saw a phenomenon happening, and I created this video, and I don't quite understand the phenomenon. I don't quite understand why it's literally the worst video that has ever shown up on my channel, because I thought it was really good. My take on the ontological argument, I think, is actually kind of interesting. I don't tend to like the ontological argument. When I hear someone saying it, I just kind of go meh. But the idea is that if I can conceive of a God as if I can conceive of God as a necessary being, then God must exist. Well, I thought, well, isn't that like a character in a story coming to know the author of the story? Unless the author of the story reveals themselves to the character is stuck in their world. They're stuck in their parameters. They would never, beginning from themselves, be able to conceive of their author. So the author has to write themselves into the book, and that's basically what Christian theism, biblical Christian theism, is basically saying. He's not just the author of the story, he's the hero of the story also. And the reason the finite mind can have a concept of an infinite being, a necessary being, is that God has revealed himself to us. And so I thought it was interesting. So I think that's fascinating. I made a video about it. 20 people watched it, which doesn't make sense to me. I won't go into too much of this, but I just think, how would, it doesn't, anyway, I won't go too much into it, but these experiment videos have not done well, which I don't know. Maybe YouTube is telling me something, telling me to stay in my lane. And so I don't know about that. Modes help create the safe space during live streams. Oh, mods. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Hey, anybody that wants to be a mod, help me out. Generally, I live stream to myself, so I haven't had the need for mods just yet. But I do appreciate that. That's wisdom there. That's wisdom. So maybe doing live streams at night is a little bit easier. At least my brother's available. I can talk him into being a mod for me. So the phenomenon of this little corner, the phenomenon is tied to the ability of the people to use the medium that they choose to engage with. That's why I'm experimenting with these videos. I don't know how to use this medium. I don't fully understand how to communicate my ideas through digital space. I can try, I can get better, but some of this seems to be connecting to people. But if you don't connect to this, if you don't connect to community, then these just are sound bites. These are just ideas. And one of the beautiful things about what Paul is doing here and what other channels in this little corner are doing is, like with the randos conversations, your ideas are important, but you as a person are important. And in digital space, it's very easy to separate the person from the idea and then just argue or shut down the idea. And in some ways, there's a healthy level to that is good. Like, I'm not my idea. And so I put my idea out there. You can argue with it. We can go back and forth. And I don't have to be offended that you're attacking me, even if you're disagreeing with my idea. And so there's a part of that which I think is healthy. But then there's a part of it which is unhealthy, because you should know the person, particularly if you want to engage with their ideas. Otherwise, you'll misunderstand them, and that's kind of what the algorithm, at least in my impression, is kind of doing. Is sort of collecting people in these little echo chambers so that they all agree with each other, but nobody's ever challenged in a healthy way to sort of break out of their ideas. And so, I'm very much a fan of what is going on in this little corner. And I think I sort of just ranted for a long time. I'm noticing that I'm getting I'm getting self-conscious because I catch myself in the camera, and then I realize I need to maybe, breathe or something, or cool off. But I don't know, where are we at with this? Like, what do you guys think? I'm really interested to do more interviews on my channel. I'm interested. Miss McGillicuddy, how's it going? Thanks for being here. First live. Welcome in. Yeah. Bonus points. Yes, you came in just at time. 33 minutes in. Extra credit. And so I think that's what we'll be doing. Excuse me. My brother and I talked about doing a video together. I've got a few kind of interviews lined up that I want to do, but I'd love to do more of this. I'd love to do more of what Chad is doing. I'd love to, in a way, dialogue is powerful when you sort of capture it in that moment, right? When it's not scripted. And most of my interaction on Twitter is probably annoying for anybody that follows my feed, because I'm like, I don't just randomly tweet ideas. Like, sometimes I will, but most of my feed is interacting with other people, because when you share an idea, it triggers an idea in me. And so dialogue, I don't know, when it's not an interview, I guess that's what I'm trying to say, is I don't necessarily want to do an interview. I want to do a dialogue. And so I see you guys doing it, and I just, there's a part of me that wants to incorporate more of that as this year goes on. There was one more tweet that I thought was appropriate. This is it. And then, let me know what you guys think about, there's something going on. I think there's something going. I think you guys, some of you guys have been in this little corner longer. I mean, I literally just popped in 6 months ago or something like that to Paul's channel, and you guys have a much better sense of what is going on. But when I start seeing stuff like this, when you see Chris's video and you
Corner,
see the kind of the reaction that people have, it seems to me like something is happening in this little corner. So you guys that have been there longer, you'll know better, but it definitely seems that way. And this is it. We share stories. Stories build trust. Trust leads to intimacy. Intimacy creates stories, and we share stories. That's this right here. That's what I experienced on Friday. I loved this moment. I don't know how else to explain it. What was I even doing Friday? I was here. I was working. I was kind of catching Paul's video a little bit. And normally when a bunch of people jump in, I'm kind of like, nah, I don't want to just add to the noise. But I loved this moment. I think maybe I've been in a live stream with Sam once, very briefly. Cassidy, Rod, Andrew, Aaron. I don't think I've ever interacted with these guys. And yet here you are laughing. That's this. We share stories. Stories build trust. Trust leads to intimacy. Intimacy creates stories, and we share stories. That's what I'm sharing the story of my Friday. My Friday was awesome because I got to hang out with you guys. Okay, I'll just catch up on some chat here. We don't need the old arguments anymore. It's plain to see that the difference between good and evil today. Yeah, I think you're right. And my approach here, my thought with this video, though it's more in that stream of sort of apologetics, is I never wanted to create an apologetics channel, even though I have a background in apologetics. I didn't want that to be the base of my channel because I've seen those channels before, and a lot of them have the comments turned off because they just attract trolls, and it doesn't create good dialogue. And so I started a channel hoping to create good dialogue. And so I built my channel around what I think is the most important thing to talk about, which is God. What comes into your mind when you think about God is the most important thing about you. And so, yeah, in some ways, I think we need to present. I don't even know if we need it. We just need it. Yeah, I think you're right. Probably old arguments. We're sort of in a post-enlightenment world. Yeah. Yes, Michael Heiser. So I was talking about this earlier that I feel like Jordan Peterson, in a way, has conversation with Francis Schaeffer. I know that sounds weird because Schaeffer's dead and gone, and Joe Rogan or Jordan Peterson. Hopefully he's read a Schaeffer book, but you wouldn't think, these guys, where would they ever have a conversation? They have a conversation in the mystical, magical world of the internet. That's where they have a conversation. We bring them together. But what's funny about Joe Rogan is I feel like as I'm listening to Joe Rogan's podcast, I'm like, I really wish he had Michael Heiser on his channel before Heiser died. That would have been absolutely bonkers. Can you imagine a Joe Rogan, Michael Heiser, given what Joe Rogan talks about with aliens and ancient history and all this stuff, and Heiser, Heiser would go to UFO conventions as a presenter. They would invite him to UFO conventions as a presenter, like that. That's something there. So yes, so you almost envision that these people have interlocutors that they've maybe never met. Certainly I don't think Jordan Peterson has ever met Francis Schaeffer. If he has, he didn't talk about it. So yes, I want to do more with Michael Heiser. In fact, we're coming up. It's almost been a year. It's almost been a year since Heiser passed away. So, yeah. No, chat. I was trolling this little corner all week long, man. I got into your chat. I got into your Friday Morning Nameless with Upcycle, which was really cool. Thank you for what you're doing. I like that because I think Paul does the randos, but he's also incredibly busy, and we need more randos, man. We need the randos to come back. I thought Paul uploaded a different video today. I thought I saw it show up and then it disappeared. And maybe that was one of you guys that it just looked like a Paul Vanderklay video that I mistook for one. With the way the principalities and evils do what they do everywhere else, why wouldn't they jump at the opportunity to use the internet? Okay, think about this. So what is AI doing? I'm about to do a John Lennox interview. So John Lennox just put out a book called 2084, which sounds fascinating. If you know John Lennox, he's a mathematician. He's just a charming man. And where would I find this? Well, anyway, he put out 2084, dealing with AI and what is it? Transhumanism and stuff like that. And my thought was this: what is AI doing? It's collecting all the information that humans are creating. And what do the spirits desperately want? They want that information. They want to know what you and I are thinking. They want to know where our eyes are going, what's attracting us, what might lure us this way or that way. That's what the enemy wants to know. And where is it found? In the brains of AI, in the internet, as they collect all this information. So legitimately what C.S. Lewis predicted is going to come true. This was one of my early videos, and I find it funny because I think it's catching on. Oh my gosh, look at this. This is so cringe, right? Hideous Strength right here. Right here. This is it. This is probably really bad. I'm probably gonna yeah.
Read C.S. Lewis's That Hideous Strength and tell me what you think about it. It's a story of a oppressive government that deceives a population of people through propaganda. But where they really go to the next level is when they ally themselves with the cosmic powers that are over this present darkness, the spiritual forces of evil. And you might be wondering, is this playing out in our own day?
Yeah, it is. That is where, yeah, it's where my mind goes. I don't know where I should go here, what I should show you guys. This little corner. What image should we be showing? Hold on, let me get back so I can read chat. But yeah, I think yeah. Yep, with the way the principalities and evils do what they do. Yep. Okay, there's people underneath those views. They're learning to see each other in a way that places. Yes, Grim, I agree with that. That was, what was? I love this. I don't know why. Tolkien. That's probably really bad, but this is John Lennox's. Where did I post that? It was Friday. I probably have gone past it, but my reaction after Friday's live stream was, no, it's got to be further down. I'm sorry, guys. Give me a second here. I'm going to find this because it's going to bug me. Sorry, this is probably annoying to just scroll past all my, yes. So this was after hanging out with you guys on Friday. This is more than YouTube. It's more than live streaming. It's like Aristophanes' prediction of the clouds. Is that right? Was it Aristophanes that wrote the clouds? Did I get this wrong? Oh my gosh, now I've become suddenly self-conscious. Who wrote the clouds? It is coming true. We meet in the clouds. We're meeting in this digital space. But we're not really doing philosophy. We're locating one another in the map of reality. We're locating each other in relationship to ourselves. We're learning to see each other in a new way. Like, I think you're right. I think we're onto something there. And the cool thing is, I was talking to somebody about the power of like one view, the power of like one person viewed a video. And you never know. It's just like having a conversation with somebody. You never know what the impact is going to be. And yet the algorithm teases you with the idea that you need to have thousands and thousands of views. And again, I just think the community is stronger than that. I think the community of this little corner, that's why Chris shows up on the scene, and it makes sense. Why? Because he's embodying the community that he observed. He beheld the community, and then he already was a part of the community. He decided to occupy another space in the community by making his own video. Yeah, man. Let's see. PVK started off interviewing randos. Yeah, and he found the conversation. So that's my brother. Everybody say what's up to my brother in the chat. So I was on Paul's channel, and again, I was listening to Grail Country this morning, getting ready for work. I was listening to this conversation with sorry, it's gonna play an ad. Sorry, I knew it. I gotta get YouTube Premium. Simone and Malcolm, and I got so distracted. I was just listening to them, and I was like, forgot what I was supposed to be doing. I was just like getting dressed, like brushing my teeth, and doing all that stuff. But I was just listening to their story, and I just got caught up in it. I was like, I didn't mean to listen to 46 minutes of this. I was just kind of curious, and then I sort of forgot to brush my teeth or whatever it was that I was doing. And those randos conversations are deeply meaningful. I agree. Okay, I'm gonna pull this over so I can see. So I'm not looking so far away. Yeah, Rogan and Heiser. Yeah, right? And this is so funny because, again, you go back to Socrates thousands of years ago, and Plato, he creates these dialogues with these interlocutors. And now we're in this digital space where it's like, isn't like, you can, if you've listened to Michael Heiser and if you've listened to Joe Rogan, you go, man, they're like kind of, I don't know, co-laborers on the same quest in some level. Yeah, we gotta love it. I John Lennox is just, and actually this goes to, I don't know what to call you, Jacob. Your name in chat is Jacob, which is so funny if you guys. So this is my brother, and I don't think I've ever called him Jacob. So it sounds funny to me coming, like I see your name and it's Jacob. I'm like, So what my brother was saying is, we sort of need a new way of doing. I'll change. He was saying we need new arguments, and what it is like if you want to know why you believe what you believe. This is what's funny about Christianity is it apprehends you, and then you try to make sense of what apprehended you, and so this apologetics, this idea of like, okay, how do I make sense of this? How do I what do I believe about this? That's where I think apologetics sort of comes in and undergirds a thing that has already happened. And so I don't even know if I think about it in this context of like argument or debate, even though I think that's fine. We need that. But John Lennox, when you listen to the way he engages with the debates that he's been asked to be a part of, he's on another level. What's so funny is he's a mathematician, but he sounds almost like a poet. Like he's very quick-witted, and he has a great sense of irony, and he's not afraid to lean into that irony. And when you listen to him debate people and people start to sort of like contradict themselves, it's so funny to listen to Lennox and his response. And so, hey, Night Chad, thanks for chilling and hanging out. Okay, Grim, I don't know what I need to look up this word panopticon. I'm definitely going for it. Ooh, the medieval worldview is all about having dialogue with those that have come before us. Interesting. I sort of like that. That could be scary though too, because you could end up doing some necromancy. You could. But I think what you're saying, you're talking about reading. You're talking about books and continuing the dialogue. There was a great. What was that book? Paul was talking about it. I think I have it, but it was maybe an essay on C.S. Lewis, and he was talking about how people used other people's works in the ancient world, and it's much like what we're doing with the internet today. We're sort of co-opting, like older works. You would see pages of quotation from somebody else's work, and they never thought of it as like ripping somebody off. They're just like, I need to engage with this thought, and it's a big thought. It's going to take up a whole page. I'm not going to just take a little soundbite and then tell you what I think about it. I'm going to give you the whole thing in context, and then we're going to talk about it. And so I think it's almost like we're returning to the way the sort of ancient people would do that type of dialogue through the written medium. We're using digital medium, and of course, and maybe I'll talk about this video briefly, but I use little clips from another person's interview. I mean, I am using someone else's content, and the phenomenon is a funny one because I just love that we keep scrolling past Tolkien with it. Anyway, the phenomenon is a strange one because the original where is it? No, it's not. It's this thread, but where's my original post? Yikes! There we go. This original Daily Wire interview has something like 750,000 views. And then you have this guy, Daily Dose of Wisdom, taking that content, and he's got a huge channel. I think he's got 500,000 subscribers or something like that. All right, cool. And then this kid who's got a YouTube channel a year ago makes a video that gets a million views. And from the time that I saw his video, Upcycle, thank you. Wow, thank you, man. I appreciate that. I really appreciate that. Wow. Yeah, man. I don't. Yeah, sorry. That happened to Paul too. He's like getting all these tips and chats and whatever, and it throws him off. Because I think about that, and I appreciate that because, and it's not something I've necessarily talked about on my channel. So I'm sorry I didn't really finish my thought about this video, but do you operate? Is Paul Vanderklay's channel a ministry? Is this little corner a ministry? Do we all? Is this when you monetize your channel? Is it? I thought about it as like, well, if YouTube's going to make a bunch of money off of me, they might as well send me some of that, so we could sort of, in a way, if this is a flotilla of ships, we could sort of do maintenance on the boat, so to speak. And so I thought about that and I was a missionary for a number of years, and so when people see the work that you're doing and support the work that you're doing, it is very meaningful. So thank you. Sorry, I sort of went on a rant there, but it's not something I don't know that I've shared before of sort of thinking about the work that you're doing and as a ministry. But so because Strange Theology is curious and never got picked for a team, I created my own video. And so you have Jaden's video from 4 weeks ago to getting 1.1 million views. And there you go. There's your answer. What is the phenomenon? What is this telling you? I don't know. It's telling me that YouTube doesn't understand this video. It doesn't understand why it's on my channel. Doesn't understand the audience that maybe would be interested in this video, or we're in a cosmic struggle for good information to flood these digital spaces to build community, and I think that is the project of this little corner is to take people from a thumbnail and a title to a community. And there are forces, let's say, that might not be as interested in creating that type of community as we are. And so let me share with you something that also happened to me this week. And Lennox has God with him when he speaks. I agree. Like here, it's like sort of out of the heart, the mouth speaks. And I think he just seems like a sweet, sweet man. So one of the things I did, and this really does tie into the idea of digital space and community and all of this. On Wednesday, I went to a place called the Rabbit Room, which is in South Nashville, which is near where I work. And I went there because I was looking for a new publisher, really. But what I found was that well, that's annoying. Did I just lose? No, okay. I was looking for a publisher. What I found is that this is way more than a publisher. This is a community. And it's a community of artists that are in and around the Nashville area. What's his name? I'll get it. Peter, not Peter. It's Peterson. Anyway, they publish books. They have articles. They have a theater. They do a podcast, and then they do in-person gatherings at this place called Northwind Manor. So that's a reference to George MacDonald. For any George MacDonald fans there, At the Back of the North Wind is one of his books. And this house is filled with art and literature and people and conversation and coffee and scones and little kids drawing on pages on the floor. And it was fascinating for me. It was not unlike jumping into Paul's live stream. It was different, of course. It was in physical space, for one. But I went to this building. I went to this house. I sat right here. You can't quite see it. I'm kind of in the way. But I had a conversation with a gentleman who sat in that chair right there. This hearth right here apparently belonged to J.R.R. Tolkien. They put it in this building, and they open it to the public. Now think about this. This is a community of artists, publishers, and they use this building kind of as their headquarters. This is sort of their office to run the Rabbit Room, as far as I understand it. But what was interesting is, just like this little corner is kind of hard to describe, it's hard to describe what they're doing. And it looks like I disconnected. Shoot. Oh no. Okay. Let me see. Am I back? Let me know if you're back. If I'm back. Anyway. All right. So, I think I'm back. and so just like Paul would invite people into his live stream, the people at the Rabbit Room are inviting people in. They just open the doors to the public twice a week. And you just come in, and they have family. They have like a gathering that's sort of family friendly, and they have a gathering that is more quiet. And my hope would be that anybody from this little corner, that's in the Nashville area, that we could blend the two of these, because I think sort of the Rabbit Room project is similar to this little corner. They have Hutchmoot once a year, which I just find so funny. So that would be, I'm assuming, a reference to Entmoot from Lord of the Rings. And so it's very funny. So I had a funny week. I had a very interesting week, and I'm glad for an opportunity to chat with you guys about it. Hanging out with you guys in this little corner, kind of observing what's happening in this little corner, definitely being a fan of what's happening in this little corner, definitely championing what's going on in this little corner, feeling very kindred with my own project here, but then going to the Rabbit Room as well. Actually, I went to the Rabbit Room before Friday, so before Paul's live stream. And it was just so funny that they're so much alike. And so anybody that's in the Nashville area, anybody from this little corner that's in that Nashville area, let's connect at the Rabbit Room. I don't know. I'm not a planner. I'm not a organizer. That would be the worst thing in the world. But if there is a desire to do estuary, we should do that. And we should maybe take advantage of the Rabbit Room. I think that would be great. I think that would be awesome. We could just pop in. And so, man, thank you guys. Yeah, I think I am going to wrap it up. Thank you again, Upcycle. Thank you for supporting this channel. Thank you for believing in what I'm doing, what we're doing. It's cool, man. It's cool to feel like there is genuine community. I will use that term. I will go so far as to call this a genuine community. It exists in digital space, which maybe feels different, but that is the way it is. So really, really appreciate you guys, and definitely look forward to making more content and connecting with you guys pretty soon. So I will catch you in the next one.